Merci beaucoup, chère madame. Permettez-moi d'exprimer au début de cette réunion de ce matin, à l'ouverture de ces travaux, combien je suis honoré de faire cette intervention, ces remarques introductives pour cette réunion. Je suis honoré au vu de l'importance du sujet que vous allez traiter, au vu de ce processus qui a aussi sa signification tout à fait particulière dans les travaux du Conseil des droits de l'homme depuis qu'il fut introduit comme un élément essentiel. Je suis également un peu ému dans cette intervention parce que je voudrais souligner que naturellement, nous sommes tous une seule race humaine, mais nous sommes divers. Et cette diversité a un prix extraordinaire pour nous tous que nous devrions préserver, parce qu'il s'agit de la richesse de la nature humaine et de la race humaine en elle-même. C'est pour cela que ce matin, je me sens encore une fois très honoré de faire cette intervention devant vous. Si vous permettez que je vais lire dans la langue anglaise. As I said, Mrs. Chairwoman, distinguished members of the expert mechanism, distinguished representative of indigenous peoples and member states, Mr. High Commissioner, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure and honor that I address you during the opening of the 17th session of the expert mechanism on the rights of indigenous people. I would like to welcome the members of the expert mechanism as well as the different delegations attending the sessions as observers. Please allow me to congratulate Mr. Ojumiro Ojulu on his recent appointment as a member of this expert body and the current chair, yourself, Ms. Cheryl Lightfoot, for her re-election as a member. I would like also to welcome Mr. Francisco Cali Dzei, the Special Rapporteur on the Right of Indigenous People, Mrs. Hindu Umaru Ibrahim, recently appointed as the Chair of the United Nations Permanent Forum on the Indigenous Issues, and Ms. Marjolaine Etienne, Member of the Board of Trustees of the United Nations Voluntary Fund for Indigenous People. The participation of and partnership with indigenous peoples in United Nations processes is essential in advancing the rights of indigenous people. I would like to extend a warm welcome to all indigenous representatives and acknowledge the participation of 28 beneficiaries of the United Nations Voluntary Fund for Indigenous People. On behalf of the Human Rights Council, I would like to thank the states that have supported this voluntary fund, which plays an essential role in supporting the participation of indigenous people, representatives in meetings concerning them, including this one, as well as at sessions of the Council Universal Periodic Review and other key UN meetings and processes. Distinguished participants, this year we mark the 10th anniversary of the World Conference of Indigenous Peoples, where member states, with the active participation of indigenous people, renewed their commitment to the United Nations Declaration on the Right of Indigenous People, a milestone instrument prescribing minimum standards for the recognition, protection, and promotion of these rights. The Human Rights Council appreciates the important work undertaken by the expert mechanism and carefully considers its proposals. In this regard, I would like to highlight Council Resolution 5412, adopted last October. Through this resolution, the Council welcomed the work of the expert mechanism and encouraged all relevant stakeholders, including states and indigenous people, to attend and participate actively in the session of the expert mechanism, to submit contribution to its studies and reports, and to engage in dialogue with it, including during its intersessional activities. The Council welcomed the expert mechanism proposal regarding further efforts to facilitate the participation of indigenous people, representatives, and institutions in its work, and encouraged the expert mechanism to continue its discussion on this matter. In the same resolution, the Council decided to organize a two-day intersessional meeting before its 57th session and another two-day intersessional meeting before its 58th session on concrete ways to enhance the participation of Indigenous people in its work. I would like to welcome the participation of many of you in the first intersessional meeting on 18 and 19 July here at the Palais des Nations, meaning in about 10 days. Moreover, the Council requested me to organize the participation of Indigenous peoples' representative institutions for the interactive dialogue with the Special Rapporteur on the rights of Indigenous people and with the expert mechanism on the right of Indigenous people at the 57th session of the Council next September. During this 17th session, you will be holding various interesting and impactful discussions, for example, on, I quote, the rights of Indigenous people in post-conflict situations, peace negotiations, agreements and accords, unquote, and on ways of enhancing the participation of Indigenous people in the United Nations. And you will take stock on progress regarding the International Decade of Indigenous languages and review the expert mechanism work at country level. Allow me to also say that the Council is looking forward to your study and advice on constitutions, laws, legislation, policies, judicial decisions, and other mechanisms through which states have taken measures to achieve the ends of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, in accordance with Article 38 of the Declaration. I cannot conclude my remarks without mentioning the serious issue of intimidation and reprisals against Indigenous peoples' representatives attending the United Nations meetings and United Nations mandate holders working on the rights of Indigenous peoples. I would like to recall that intimidation and reprisal constitutes a serious attack not only against those courageous enough to stand up for human rights, but also against the very essence and proper functioning of the United Nations system itself. You can count on the President of the Council to be fully engaged to contradict and to fight against any kind of intimidation like the one I just referred to. I call on all states to respect and protect persons cooperating with and representing the United Nations system. My office, as I said, will keep a watchful eye over allegations of intimidation and reprisals during this meeting. I wish to you all very successful deliberation, and I am looking forward to the continued cooperation between the Human Rights Council and this expert mechanism, as I said, in the very next future, the very next week, and particularly also during the next session of the Council. I thank you, Madam Chairperson.